Hi everybody, welcome to another gorgeous edition of Sama. We are in Vancouver at the fabulous Vancouver Folk Festival. It's back and it's survived. We are here with the fabulous Ukrainian Bandura player Maryna Krut. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. Hi.
Hi. All right, let's get into it. Last time we met, we were in Spain.
Yes.
At Womex, and
Yes.
you did a beautiful rendition at the radio station there. Obviously, it's been a few months. A lot's changed in the world. Tell me what's been going on.
Oh wow, yeah. Actually, it was like more than 6 months ago, I think. Yeah. Spain was so good. Actually, the Womex was so much good. And yeah, right now I'm still living in Ukraine. Right now I'm still playing on this beautiful instrument, and a lot of things happen in my life, you know, in the music career and everything. So right now it's my first Canadian tour during the festival, you know, across Canada, and right now we are in Vancouver, the most beautiful folk festival. What I
really
sing
beautiful.
in my life, yeah.
It is beautiful.
Yeah.
A lot's changed. Our dear mutual friend Rafa contacted you on Instagram and invited you to come and perform at a gathering in Galicia at a monastery, and you got a chance to play with a couple of other musicians. But a lot of interesting things happened at the same time. You were able to find your manager, find your booking agent, and all of this kind of led to here. Way to go, Rafa. But also, you are living in Ukraine and you're going back to Ukraine.
Yep.
Obviously, unless you've been living in a cave, you understand that Ukraine is under attack by Russia right now and is holding on. And the reality of being at war and the reality of being a musician such as yourself and offering solace and comfort to soldiers must be in the back of your mind a lot, especially in the context of the history of this instrument. How do you manage that duality where, like, you're a working artist, so you want to play and perform, you're also representing your culture and your people. We see a lot of Ukrainians at your shows because there's something about the music that you're making that connects them, but there's also the reality that we're hearing from people. It's like your country's at war and there's a part of it you have to be there and help. How are you managing those two energies?
Okay, so a lot of questions. First of all, it's my in this year, 2024, it's my tour number 3. I had a very big tour across Canada in January this year, and after it was a Ukrainian tour, like not some super big, you know, just 8 cities and 8 concerts, but it was in the springtime, and right now we have a summer, and right now I'm in Canada. And you know, of course, it's crazy tempo of this life, but right now I have very interesting things what I don't have before in my life. This is things like schedule for a 2025. It's very, very interesting because right now I know when I have time in Ukraine, when I have time to be in Canada or America. Yeah, but I met my booking agent and met my manager, and they cover for me everything and they help me. Of course, it's so like they so angel. Yeah, and you know what? Like in Ukraine, normally we sell tickets for concerts like maximum 2 days before the concerts. So nobody buy tickets. Nobody buy it, and this is so stressful, of course. And you know, and I remember those Ukrainian tour. It was acoustic one, and I remember when I go to the stage, and like bam, we had red alert sirens, and all people need to go to a bomb shelter in a theater, and we stopped concerts, and it was a couple times. It was a couple of times. So we and this is, you know, this is so interesting. We during the concert, we doing the festivals during the war, and we hear a lot of red sirens alerts and everything. But we're still working. We're still working because we don't know how to stop all these things, you know, like music during the war. And it's so interesting, and you know, so it's very big contrast between like we sell tickets for concerts in Ukraine 2 days before the concert, and schedule for 2025. You know, it's so interesting.
Oh, so that's just, it's not connecting.
Yeah, it's
Like-
not connecting in my head, you know. And
Okay.
I don't know where I am actually. I think it's something between Ukraine and Canada actually. You know, sometimes I wake up, my body still in Ukraine, but my mind here. So yeah, and and you know what? Just I think all time it's so funny because when I have time, I go to war zone to play for soldiers.
Yeah.
If I don't have time for go to war zone because it's 1,000 kilometers away from me, I go to hospital and play for injured military
soldiers,
yeah, soldiers, and I think the Bill Smith, who I'm working with right now, he all time called me and say, Maryna, I have 5 more new gigs, and you know I have like one idea. He do for me these things because he worried about if I have a lot of free time, I will go to war zone again. You know, all times they call me and worry like, Maryna, please stay safe. We have schedule for 2025. I say, I know, I don't want to die here because I have schedule for 2026. Yeah, and but here we go. I think, you know, I don't want to be bandura player from the Canada or from the America, because I want to be Ukrainian bandura player from the Ukraine. Because I think right now in a war zone, why I go into war zone? Because of course for soldiers it's important to have some music, you know, for mental support and everything and blah blah blah. But I think it's more important things for me, not for them, for me, because I think right now in a war zone history is writing in Ukraine. So I want to be the musician who listen, you know, and put inside all these things, what I hear, what I heard and everything and blah, 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 put inside, and after go to another countries and told story, like real story, real, yeah. So maybe that's why I'm going, yeah.
Okay. So right now it's the war.
Yeah, still war.
Before the war, when it was Soviet, Ukraine was a region of the Soviet Union. Most people didn't know anything about Ukraine. It was on I was on a game called Risk, and that was kind
a
of
lot of
it.
people think that Ukraine is part of Russia culture.
Yeah, and that was a long time before Soviets. Ukraine was its own, and then it just moved like that part of the world. The borders moved back and forth. You are now representing and I say this to any Ukrainian artist that I'm lucky enough to actually interview. You're at the beginning of hopefully the long story of Ukraine, and you're playing an instrument which is very much tied to the legacy and the history of the country. And this is interesting. You're a young person, and now through this music, you're telling a very old story to a very new population. Right now, the war is everything. It's the focus of of what's happening, but that will change. You know, inshallah.
Yeah.
What do you want to tell people about Ukraine? Your Ukraine, not so much, but you know, for the future, but also from the past.
I think history is repeat. So that's why we right now we have a war, because if you will learn some history, you have a lot of answers for a lot of questions. And of course, in a stage, so yesterday I saw about like, I want to, you know, I want to sing and have songs about butterfly, love, you know, everything like so spiritual, nature, beer, wild and everything. But no, like we have background and we can change this right now. And I think our generation, Ukrainians like age like me, we are already like broken by so for example yesterday I don't know if I can say, but I think it's important, like doctor says I have PTSD, you know, and this is so important, and I think it's not big news actually for us Ukrainians. It's not big news, it's like normal, I think, you know, because I think I live with this diagnosis a lot of years, like 3 years at least, but right now it's like so official. And it's like, okay, it's official, so I can, you know, okay, I don't want to play concert because I have PTSD, you know, it's like legal for my life right now, so and you know what, like, of course, history is changed, and I hope so much that people not from the Ukraine, like around all the world, will be interesting our culture, our music after the war. Not because of war, because Ukrainian is interesting. We will discover Ukraine. We will travel to Ukraine, travel to Karpaty, because very beautiful country, so beautiful country, yeah. And I hope that's why I'm here in this time, because I think okay, right now I'm talking about the war and the concerts, a lot of stuff, you know. I'm just talking about myself and my experience in my life, because I can't, you know, I can't be like presidents and talking about like so general and big things. I'm just talking about me and my experience, and that's why I go to Ukraine and back to my country all time when I don't have any concerts, because I need to live this experience, you know. Yeah, I need to know everything, and yeah, and you know, I saw that a lot of people, you know, when I told about my friends and how she's died and everything.
Speak about that if you can.
Yeah.
Like,
so
if you could name her too.
I have one of my best friends. Her name was Ira Tsibuch, and in a front line they call Cheka. And yeah, she was combat medic in the front line. She was so great, actually, people. She was so young, so smart. She was 25 years old. And she died on the front line 2 days before was her birthday. Yeah, so she was almost 26. But she died before birthday and before the, you know, and I think she know about it a lot of time. Like, of course, if you live your life like fighter, of course you will die like fighter. So she understand all the risk, and she write for me message, like very long message on WhatsApp, and she tell me like, Maryna, when I will die, because I'm right now in the war zone. When I will die, you need to do a lot of things, you know. She write for me a very big list what I need to do, and right now I'm not done, you know, all these things.
Okay.
Yeah. And the most important things, she say, like, if you know, if Ukraine, if we feel pain, we try to scream and sing song about pain, you know. And right now, the most important things, what I think, that if we in Ukraine we have a lot of pain every day, and if you have a lot of pain inside in your body, you need, like, you know, open to the world this pain. And the best way is the sing song, Ukrainian traditional or not Ukrainian, like make some noise, you know, when you feel so bad. And so she said, like, you need, guys, you need choose the 10 songs Ukrainian, like so interesting, not like so famous, because everybody know famous song. Like, you need to choose not so much famous but very unique songs, and sing together all people who gonna be in ceremony. Be in Vyshivanka, in Ukrainian traditional clothes, sing a song.
What's the clothes called?
Vyshivanka.
Vyshivanka.
Yeah,
Okay.
is the very beautiful Ukrainian, you know.
Flowers.
Yeah, flowers in a clothes and everything. It's like special technique, and yeah. So she said, like, you need, guys, to do this, and you need to make very big fire on a cemetery, you know. It was something impossible for us, but we call to everybody. We call, like, for a lot of important people in Ukraine, like almost Zelensky, for do this, you know. And Zelensky told about her in those night, and yep. So you can imagine it was 5,000 people on the ceremony, 5,000. And all 5,000 people open the Google Docs, or who don't have phone, you know, we give for them some paper with a text, and 5,000 people sing Ukrainian songs together.
Wow.
With me. Yeah, a combination, you know, I played, and yeah, we take our line up and everything, you know, like, and yeah. It was 5 people together, and it was something incredible. I can send you after. You know.
Please do.
Yeah, I will show you. But it was like, I never seen something like that. Never seen.
This connects, because there's a lot of Ukrainians, we're in a country of immigrants. There's a lot of Ukrainians here. How does this work connect with the diaspora or the Ukrainians living abroad?
The most easy way that still now a lot of, so for example, this generation who moved to Canada or in America, who moved right now because of war, they have a lot of, I don't know, sister, friends, a lot of people, yeah. So of course they connected. But you know what? A lot of generation move from Ukraine to another countries because Soviet Union, because Russians again. Like during 100 years, they move not because they want. Like I think like at least 10% of people want to move because they want like see across the Canada and discover and everything, you know, and live, have experience, live in another country. But I think the 90% people lives from homeland because of Russians, Russians nearby. Yeah, so that's why, you know, so that's why they connected for this war, of course. And diaspora helps for us a lot.
Yeah, it's nothing like brings people together. So I want you to play, but I'll ask you two other questions. In Sama, we are super focused on traditions and how the next generation is taking on those traditions. You're a young woman playing something from an ancient time. You could be, you know, you have a history with Eurovision, you've been on there, you're a pop star. How does this ancient instrument that's tied to so much of the past, how do you reinterpret this for 2024? And I'm seeing this also in literally all over the world, but especially in Ukraine. I can understand it where like you were part of the Soviet system, so it was one thing. In Poland we had the same thing during communism. It was like one sound that wasn't the West. But now there's a deep interest in traditional music from your generation and even younger. Can you speak to that a little bit? Like, what is it about that connects you? What are you hearing? What are you feeling when you're performing these ancient songs that were of your great-great-great-grandmother?
So, I think before the full invasion, I like tried to be a pop star, you know. But right now, no, because when everything was happened, I learned a lot of folk song and learned about a lot of books, you know, and listen a lot of people.
Why?
Because I want to know my background. I want to know why I'm Ukrainian.
You want to know your roots?
Yes, yes.
Can you say
because,
that?
Yeah, I want to know my roots actually.
Okay.
And yeah, like because you know you live in a country and every day you can die and you need to know why you will die, why, for which reason, why is it bombing us, and you need to know why you're Ukrainians, not just because you were born in Ukraine. No, you become Ukrainians because you have a lot of backgrounds inside, like Ukrainian, super Ukrainian people, and so especially me, I need to know my history, why I'm playing on this instrument, you know, because when I was started, this is why I even know this name, like Bandura, okay, Bandura, but I don't know history, and nobody told me. I'm just research myself, you know. Yeah, so 100 years ago, not in Bandura, because Bandura exists 100 years ago, but before Bandura, it was the almost similar grandpa. It was Kobza, or maybe grandma.
Kobza?
Kobza. Yeah, Kobza. And it was Kobzari around the street. So Kobzari was like troubadours in our country. And of course government don't like them because sometimes they can sing, you know, some songs and it's gonna be like...
it's gonna counter the narrative.
Yeah. And they can broken some stereotypes, some myths, for people who don't have any phone, newspaper, telegram, WhatsApp, and Instagram. They don't have nothing. So they travel across the country. Especially normally they played at village, you know, and tell the truth for people. So Soviet Union kills a lot of Kobzars, and right now in Ukraine the Kobzars traditions it's almost die, almost. But 100 years ago, almost, was created Bandura. Why Bandura exists? Because, for example, kobza was a diatonic instrument. Kobza was from the 12 until, I don't know, like 36 strings. But Bandura have more, and Bandura have a lot of things, like Bandura is chromatic one, and that's why we can play very different genre of music, like everything, I think, like pop, jazz, everything, because it's it's
very flexible.
It's flexible and chromatic. So that's why in Ukraine Bandura right now exists, and I don't know why. Actually, it's very interesting question. Why in Bandura normally play girl, women, not because 100 years ago it was kobzars in the street, like almost blind. Why blind? Because normally people became a kobzars because they lost eye, for example, as they don't know what you need to do. But in a kobza you can play without eyes. Yeah. For Bandura you can play too also, but it's just a little bit maybe more difficult.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was something. If you had a handicap, it was something for you to do, make money, and support yourself. And there were like. Weren't there like small boys that were actually the guides for the Bandura?
Yes.
Were they ever young girls?
No, it was normally it was a young boy. Yeah.
Who was guiding that person? It's a beautiful story.
Yeah. And right now we have normally 95% in Ukraine girls play Bandura.
Really?
Yeah. So it's so interesting. Really, I don't know. I still don't know why. What
do you think?
I don't know, actually. I don't know, because Bandura before don't have any professional education and teachers, and it was because it was diatonics, So after they created Bandura, and they tried to push Bandura to the musical university, musical school, and everything. So I have education on this instrument. I like professional Bandura player.
Okay.
Yeah. I have diploma. Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't have any high education like university. I don't have. But I have college, and so I learned Bandura for 14 years.
So this is your path now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay, this is great. Anything we should know about that's coming up? Obviously, you have the tour of Canada.
Yeah.
There's, I've been talking to a lot of Ukrainian musicians, and one of the things that's difficult is recording. Because you're constantly busy, you're working, you're touring.
Yep.
So you don't have any time to really just kind of get in the studio, unwind, and then start. But is there any hope of you actually recording something new with this work?
I think I need one microphone, one night, one Bandura, and without phone. It's more important.
That's
things.
it.
Without phone, without Instagram, Yeah. So if I have all these places, time, and everything, I can record album like one night.
Okay.
It's nothing, nothing. Just play one time a song, because normally I record my solo project or record some songs together. Like just record the first voice and after Bandura. No, because separate is like so weird things.
It doesn't work.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
So you need.
So I need records, and normally for me it's enough to play like 2 times one song, and that's all. And I record, because emotions. I have a lot of emotions when I play a song like first time. Second time is like gonna be maybe second time my brain will play, with me, but not my soul.
Okay.
So, but yep, I have a free time in this year. I will record some. I can announce to you. I will record very beautiful solo album. I hope so much.
When we see you play, we feel a lot of emotion from what you're presenting. We don't need to speak Ukrainian to actually understand what's going on. Your neighbors in Russia, I was telling friends that if they were to hear you, it would open up their hearts a bit more. And I'd love for you to speak to that right now. What would you like to sing to your difficult Russian neighbors right now to get them to rethink their choices?
I think they don't deserve the songs. They don't deserve for nothing from us. We don't have any deal with them. don't have any.
If you could, if your song could change their minds, let's just say, whether they deserve it or not, but let's say you had the power to change their minds, what would you like to see happen?
I think first, if they will make free our land, you know, and going from our territory, going to home, after pay reparations, and after maybe we will talk.
Okay.
Yes. Before, no.
So those are the steps.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I know about a very interesting story that Bandura, that Ukraine have very beautiful instrument like Bandura, and have a lot of more instruments like cymbali, trembita, and everything, you know. But what Russia have? Russia have balalaika. Balalaika have 3 strings. That's all. That's all. Yeah. So it's like small example about those culture, you know. Yeah. So I don't have any song for them. I don't have. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Maryna.
Thank you, Darek.
Let's.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
So one of my very big dream to sit near you and talk to you.
Oh, thank you.
It was, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
You're a sweetheart. Appreciate it. Okay, let's hear some music right now. And remember, I was telling you like a 1-minute piece. So, give us like your history of like hi, who you are, and this is my instrument, the bandura, and just give us like, you know, just a brief description of this instrument.
Can I take instrument? Yeah. Okay, not playing, just explain, right?
Just explain.
Okay. Hi, my name is Maryna Krut. I'm Ukrainian singer, songwriter, and bandura player. In my hands, Ukrainian traditional instrument called bandura. Bandura have a lot of strings, like 65, for example, in my instrument, and especially this one have a 55 years old. And yeah, pretty old, but still super cool. And I have super very special amplifier here, 2 XLRs with a phantom, you know, and I have here these things. I can explain you, but okay, I will not try, you know, because it's so complicated. But here we go. This is Ukrainian traditional instrument, and yep. Is it good?
Thank you, Maryna. Yeah.
Is it good?
Let's hear a song or 2.
Yeah. So the song what I want to sing for you called "Нежность." It means tenderness, you know. And this is my music and poems by Ukrainian famous poets Lina Kostenko. And why I want to choose this song, because do you know my friend's Ira, she loved Lina Kostenko so much and she loved my music, and when she died I leave for her one of my strings. It's the last strings from my instrument, and right now you can see the hole, you know, in this instrument, and I live with her in the ground because, you know, it's like metaphor that my soul lost one string. So, нежность. Десь проходила ніжність між нами, і спинилась, і кликала нас, і не вміла стати словами, бо не знала для себе назв. Звалась дружбою, звалась приязнью, міла ждати і чатувати, і тримали її, мов на привязі, щоб не сміла нас чаклувати. І ставала вона незграбною, як водою циганська відмідь, лиш боялась на людях раптом ланцюгом своїм продзвеніть. Чи були ми занадто гордими, що слова були крижані, та лишилась вона кросфортом, може ніжністю, може ні. So the next song is going to be Ukrainian folk traditional one, but of course I do just a little bit, improvisation and everything. Yep, and normally in Ukraine we sing in springtime this song. We call this Vesnyanka. Вийди, Іваночку, заспівай нам весняночку, веснували, віщували, весни дожидали. Ой ти весно, наша весно, дещо ти нам принесла, старим бабам по кийочку, а дівчаточкам по віночку. Злила я віночок вчора, із вечора, зеленого барвіночку, та й повісила на кілочку. А матуся моя вийшла, та й віночок зелень зняла, та й віночок зелень зняла, та й не любові дала. Вчора, із вечора, зеленого барвіночку, та й повісила на кілоч. Вийди, Іваночку, заспівай нам весняночку, займували, вищували, весни дожидали. Thank you.
Very nice.
Thank you.